They say grief has stages: denial, anger, bargaining. My father, he just had one: replacement. It took him 6 months after my mom passed away to bring Isabella home. 6 months. To me, it felt like an eternity and no time at all. The first time I met her, she was standing in our kitchen, the one my mom had designed, laughing at something my dad had said. The sound was like glass chimes in a hurricane. Beautiful, but utterly wrong in that space. She was perfect. That was the problem. Not a hair out of place on her head of sleek, dark hair. A smile that could disarm a battalion. And her eyes. They were a warm, deep brown that seemed to hold endless sympathy. She looked at my grieving father, and he melted. She looked at me, a sullen 17-year-old, and her smile didn't waver. "Alex," my dad said, his voice lighter than I'd heard it in months. "This is Isabella. She's a very special friend." Isabella extended a perfectly manicured hand. "It's a true pleasure to meet you, Alex. Your father has told me so much about you." Her perfume, something expensive and floral, filled the air, choking out the faint, lingering scent of my mom's lavender hand soap that I tried so hard to preserve. I shook her hand. It was cold. In the beginning, I tried. I really did. For my dad's sake, he was happy again. He was eating. He was smiling. Isabella was a miracle worker, everyone said. She cooked gourmet meals. She reorganized his chaotic study. She listened to his stories about my mom with a patient, sorrowful nod. But I watched her. I watched her when she thought no one was looking. The first crack in her perfect facade appeared about a month in. My dad was showing her a photo album. He turned to a picture of my mom and me at the beach, both of us laughing, covered in sand. "This was her favorite place," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Isabella's hand was on his back, rubbing gentle circles. "She was beautiful, David," she murmured. But for a split second, as her eyes flicked from the photo to my dad's grieving face, I saw it. A flash of impatience, annoyance. It was gone as quickly as it came, replaced by that mask of perfect sympathy. But I saw it, and it planted a seed of ice in my stomach. The cracks started getting bigger. A phone call she took in the garden, her voice low and sharp, a complete contrast to her usual honey-sweet tone. She'd snap, "Just be patient, it takes time," before seeing me at the window and instantly switching back. "Oh, that was just my silly sister. You know how family is." The thing was, she'd told my dad she was an only child, her parents having passed away years ago. She began to subtly erase my mother. First, it was the throw pillows on the sofa, replaced with ones that were more her style. Then my mom's favorite painting in the hallway was moved to the guest room. When I confronted her, she gave me that pitying look. "Oh, Alex, sweetie," she said, her voice dripping with concern. "I just thought, maybe having so many constant reminders is making it harder for your father to move on. For you, too." She made me sound like the cruel one. She was a master at it. She would twist my grief, my loyalty to my mom, into teenage angst. My dad, blinded by his new happiness, saw it her way. "Alex, she's just trying to help us build a new future," he'd say. I was alone on an island of suspicion, while everyone else was enjoying the cruise on the Isabella. The real investigation began with the laptop. It was an old one of my mom's that my dad had given to Isabella to use. One evening, I heard my dad talking about updating his will. "Just some minor changes," he said, making sure Isabella's taken care of course. That night I couldn't sleep. The phrase "taken care of" echoed in my head. I knew Isabella was a heavy sleeper. Around 2 a.m., I crept downstairs. The house was silent. I went into the study where she usually left the laptop. My heart was hammering against my ribs. This was it. I was crossing a line, but something was screaming at me that I had to. I opened the laptop. It was password protected, of course. I tried the obvious. Her name, my dad's name, their anniversary. Nothing. Then I remembered something she'd said once, laughing about a silly password she used for everything. The name of her first pet. She told my dad it was a cat named Misty. I typed it in, M-I-S-T-Y, access denied. Damn it. I was about to give up when a thought struck me. It was a long shot. My mom's old password for this very laptop. She was a classics professor. Her password was always Artemis, and I typed it in. ARTEMIS1. It unlocked. My blood ran cold. She hadn't even bothered to change the master password. Either she was arrogant or just didn't know how. I didn't have much time. I didn't go for her documents or pictures. I went straight for the guts of the machine. The browser history, the cache, the deleted files. She had been careful. The primary history was clean, full of recipes and home decor websites. But I dug deeper, using a file recovery program I'd learned about online. And that's where I found them. Fragments, deleted emails, recovered from the digital trash can. They weren't addressed to Isabella. They were addressed to someone named Jenna. The emails were between Jenna and a man whose name was blacked out. But the context was clear. It was a conversation about a mark. One email read, "He's completely smitten. The grief makes them so pliable. He's already talking about changing financial documents. This one is almost too easy." Another one. "The kid is a problem. He watches me. I have to play the part of the perfect stepmom, and it's exhausting. We need to speed this up." My hands were shaking. Jenna. Who was Jenna? I opened a private browsing window and typed Jenna Malone, the name from the email signature, into the search bar. The results hit me like a physical blow. Articles from local newspapers in 3 different states. A woman named Jenna Malone, also known as Jessica Smith, also known as a half-dozen other aliases. Her MO was identical every time. Find a wealthy, recently widowed man, charm him, isolate him from his family, marry him, and then, through a series of unfortunate accidents, or by having him declared mentally incompetent, gain control of his entire estate. She was a professional, a predator, and she was sleeping down the hall from my father. The worst part? I found a forum, a support group for families who had been victims of inheritance predators. A post from 2 years ago described a woman who perfectly matched Isabella. The same dark hair, the same charming smile. The post was from a young woman whose father had fallen down the stairs a year into his new marriage. His death was ruled an accident. His new wife inherited everything and disappeared. Suddenly, things started to click into place in a horrifying way. My dad's recent clumsiness. He'd stumbled on the stairs last week. Isabella had rushed to his side, full of worry. "David, you need to be more careful. Your balance seems off lately." His forgetfulness. He'd missed a doctor's appointment. "Don't worry, darling," Isabella had cooed. "I'll handle your schedule from now on. You have too much on your mind." She had taken charge of his medications, laying them out for him each morning in a little plastic box. Oh God, the medications. Was she just after his money, or was she planning on making him have an unfortunate accident too? The forum post burned in my mind. I had to act. But how? If I went to my dad with a bunch of printed out emails from a laptop I'd snooped on, she would twist it. She would say I was a jealous, disturbed kid making things up. She'd cry, and my dad would comfort her, and I'd be the villain. I needed undeniable proof. I needed to catch the real her. I bought a voice-activated recorder, a tiny one, no bigger than a flash drive. The next day, I waited until she was in the shower. I slipped into the living room and tucked it deep into the soil of a large potted ficus tree near the phone. The wait was agony. Every meal with her felt like dining with a snake. I had to pretend everything was normal. I smiled back at her. I made small talk. I felt like a spy in my own home, and every second felt like a risk. 3 days later, I got it. I retrieved the recorder while she was out grocery shopping. I plugged it into my computer, my heart pounding. I scrolled through hours of silence, of the TV droning on, of my dad and her making pleasant conversation. And then I found it. A call she made when she thought she was alone. Isabella's voice, recorded. "No, he still hasn't signed the final power of attorney. He wants his lawyer to look at it." Harrison. "Yeah, the old family friend. It's a complication. Look, I'm handling it. I've been upping the dosage, just slightly. He's been complaining about dizziness. It's working. He thinks he's just getting old. The kid is still watching me, but he's just a boy. What can he do?" Yes, of course it's safe. It's untraceable. Just give me 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks and everything will be ours. I felt the floor drop out from under me. Upping the dosage. Untraceable. She was poisoning him. Slowly, methodically, making him sick to get him to sign over his life. I didn't have weeks. I had to act now. I saved the audio file. I copied the emails, the articles, the forum posts. I put everything onto a single encrypted flash drive. I didn't go to the police. Not yet. Her crimes were subtle, hard to prove. Poison, she claimed, was untraceable. Manipulation. I needed to expose her to the one person who could legally and financially dismantle her plan. My father's lawyer, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison had been my dad's friend since college. A sharp, no-nonsense man who had always been kind to me. I called his office and said it was a family emergency. I sat in his mahogany-paneled office, a scared teenager with a flash drive that held the key to my father's life. I told him everything, from the first flash of annoyance in her eyes to the audio recording. I played it for him. He listened, his face grim, his fingers steepled. He didn't doubt me. He didn't call me a hysterical kid. When the recording finished, he looked at me, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of fear in the old lawyer's eyes. "She's done this before," he said, his voice a low growl. "We're not going to let her finish." The plan was simple and brutal. Mr. Harrison called my dad and Isabella for an urgent meeting at his office the next day to sign the final papers. Isabella was ecstatic. I could see it in her eyes. She thought this was her victory lap. I was there too. My presence was part of the plan. We all sat around the large conference table. My dad, looking a little pale and tired. Isabella, radiating triumph, one hand placed lovingly on my father's arm. Mr. Harrison at the head of the table, his face a granite mask, and me at the other end, feeling sick with dread and anticipation. Mr. Harrison started calmly. "David, before we sign this new power of attorney, there are a few inconsistencies we need to clear up regarding your estate planning." Isabella's smile tightened just a fraction. "Inconsistencies? I thought everything was straightforward." "Mostly," Mr. Harrison said, sliding a folder across the table. "For instance, this life insurance policy you encouraged David to take out, naming you as the sole beneficiary. It's quite a large policy for a man in perfect health." My dad looked confused. "Isabella was just being prudent, Robert." "Was she?" Mr. Harrison leaned forward. "Were you also being prudent, Isabella? Or should I call you Jenna? Jenna Malone?" The color drained from Isabella's face. The mask didn't just crack, it shattered. I don't know what you're talking about. Alex has put you up to this. He's been trying to turn his father against me since I arrived." My dad looked back and forth between them. "Robert, what is this?" "Jenna. Ask her about Ohio, Dad," I said, my voice shaking but clear. "Ask her about a man named Markham, or Florida, and a man named Peterson. Both widowers, both dead from accidents within 2 years of marrying a charming brunette." "Lies," she shrieked, standing up. "They're all lies." Mr. Harrison held up a hand. "Then perhaps you can explain this." He clicked a button on the conference room speaker, and her own voice, cold and reptilian, filled the silent room. Isabella's voice, recorded. "I've been upping the dosage, just slightly. He's been complaining about dizziness. It's working. 2 more weeks and everything will be ours." My dad stared at the speaker, then at Isabella. The love in his eyes curdled into horror and disbelief. It was the most terrible thing I have ever witnessed. He looked at the woman he loved and saw a monster. She didn't scream or cry. She just sank back into her chair. Defeated. The game was over. There was nowhere to run. The aftermath was messy. The police were called. There were lawyers, investigations. They analyzed my dad's blood and found elevated levels of a heart medication he hadn't been prescribed, a drug known to cause dizziness and confusion in healthy people. Combined with the recording and the evidence of her past, they had enough. She didn't get a short sentence. My dad, he broke. For a while he was a ghost in his own house, haunted by the woman he thought he knew and the wife he had lost all over again. Our relationship was strained. It was hard for him to look at me without being reminded of the betrayal I had uncovered. But slowly we started to heal. We talked. For the first time, we really talked about my mom, about our grief, not as something to be replaced, but as something to be lived with. We rebuilt our family, just the two of us. Sometimes I walk through the house and I can almost smell my mom's lavender soap again. The ghost of Isabella's perfume has finally faded. I learned that true evil doesn't always come with horns and a pitchfork. Sometimes it comes with a perfect smile, a sympathetic ear, and a promise to take all your pain away. And I learned that you have to trust that little seed of ice in your stomach, because sometimes it's the only thing telling you the truth.